I'm introducing myself and Nadia to the next presentation. So Nadia and me are going to speak about adopting product-led growth principles for success. And for that, the first question is actually, have you heard about product-led growth? Do you know what that term refers to? Or who has heard about it? That's interesting, because I also have spoken with quite some participants before, and this doesn't seem to be a very well-known term outside of the software industry, but in the software industry that is the thing. And I'm not explaining now what product-led growth is, because Nadia can do that much better than I can, just in a single sentence so that you get an idea. So product-led growth, the idea is that you change from sales, marketing driving your growth, being your primary growth driver, towards the product itself. So imagine the product is selling itself instead of your sales folks are selling the product. And that is really something that especially for software companies, became a very big thing. Here you see all the publicly listed companies that are primarily product-led. So where the product is the primary revenue driver of the company. So where customers go and self-sign onto the product, create an account, etc. And what you can see, there's a huge trend in publicly listed companies adopting product-led growth as a growth mindset. And in 2012 it was 1. In 2021 we had 35, and those are only publicly listed companies, so only stock-traded companies. And some studies show very interesting results. So a company with a product-led model, or primarily product-led model, is twice as likely to quickly grow. And quickly growing is the definition of having a growth rate of more than 100%. And on the other hand, if you're looking at investors, they actually value this capability as well. So if you have a primarily product-led motion, your evaluation with the same revenue, same growth rate, will be an average 50% higher, just because you have your product driving the growth. And that's why it's such a big thing in the software industry. And next thing is, you haven't heard of it. I haven't actually met somebody. I mean, we are mostly working together with manufacturers of equipment, maintenance providers, etc. And there it doesn't seem to be a term at all. So why do we think this matters? Jürgen this morning showed this slide, that you are forced actually through commoditization of equipment, through a decline in margin when you sell your product, which is your asset, your hardware, to actually invest more in services, invest more in the service model where you're generating your business out, and be more innovative, and also think about as a service business model. So how can I as a company sell my product differently than I did it in the past? And that actually makes you become a software company. And that is exactly the reason why we think us sharing a bit about the product-led growth principles, which are a very big thing in the software industry, might actually also be handy for you, because you're becoming a software company, and that might also give you a competitive edge. And with that, I am handing over to Nadia, who is, before she explains product-led growth, digs a bit into sales-led growth.
Thanks, Nico. So hello, everyone. So let's go back to the traditional concept when we have the business growth mainly driven by the sales teams. So in this case, we have our sales teams establishing relationships with prospects and customers, and they are helping them find value in our products, right? As a traditional software company, we in Cumulocity, we also have this growth model. So we have a complex product, and we offer almost endless opportunities for customization. So we also rely on our sales, pre-sales, customer success management teams to help our prospects and customers be successful. How many of you actually think that this model represents what you have in your companies as a growth model? Do you recognize this? Okay, that's good. But I can almost hear you thinking, but what's wrong with this model? Don't get me wrong, nothing's wrong with this model, and it's actually a really good growth model for really complex products where we need to start building relationships with customers and implement complex solutions. So nothing's wrong, but let me tell you one small problem with this one. So companies with this sales-led growth approach, the product teams often just end up optimizing the product for the enterprise buyer and not for the end user. And why that could be a problem, there's another thing, that customer expectations are changing, and business customers are now buying enterprise software solutions in a different way. So we now see that more and more end users and practitioners are influencing the buying decision making. So we need to make sure that our products are easy to use and we provide fast value to our users, to our prospects and customers. And that's why we need to make sure that we have intuitive product experience and we focus on the end users. So this is where the product-led growth model fits in very well. So we are all using Netflix and we have this type of expectations. We want to have seamless experience. We want fast time to value, and this is where product-led growth is really good, when you position the product experience at the center, and it's a tool for customer acquisition, retention, and expansion. Okay, everything's good, right? But we need to remember that we have complex products, and we just cannot leave our prospects and customers just use the product and be successful. We just cannot leave the keys to a high-powered car and leave our users be successful on their own. We still rely on our sales, pre-sales, and customer success management teams to guide our prospects and customers and to help them be successful, but we need to do this when the users are ready or when the users are asking for help. So, we in Cumulocity, we are adopting this hybrid approach. It's called product-led sales, where we combine the benefits of the two growth models. So we provide intuitive experience with self-service capabilities for the end user, but at the same time, we still rely on our sales and pre-sales colleagues with human assistance when needed and where needed for complex, different product use cases. We still rely on them. And I will give this to Nico, who will share.
We actually just wanted to share one example in our customer base who is already having product-led motions in their product, and this is AutoZen. So pity that Rainer from AutoZen, who will make a presentation also tomorrow from how easy it is to move sensor data into the cloud, is not in the room. But basically, what have they built? They have their subsidiary of IFM, so a big sensor manufacturer, and they started as an online shop to simplify the experience to purchasing a sensor without the need of a salesperson. So you go online and purchase a sensor, and that is really product-led, because you're not calling your sales rep anymore. You're going online and buy the sensor. And then they also recognize that a lot of customers had the problem that I just not only want to buy a sensor, but I need to do something useful with the data. And that's when they introduced the IoT device, which is basically a gateway where you plug in a sensor and you get the data into the cloud. And that's how their purchasing process looks like. So I really thought this through from an end user perspective, what I'm interested in. I want to have the data in a daily, hourly, minutely resolution. I can buy some add-ons, and that's it. You do the checkout. And then what they also did, they actually thought a lot about this commissioning process. So they automated a lot of things on the way, from getting the order in towards setting the device up, sending it to the customer, having the customer plug it in, and being able to log in and just see his sensor data. And why is that important? Because this not only reduces their acquisition costs, So their sales process is much cheaper, but it also helps them get excited, happy customers, which can get value out of the product much faster, which means that they are much more likely to actually get value in the product and refer this product to other customers or buy more sensors also for other internal use cases. And that is this power of product-led growth. We actually excite the user and grow because the user is starting actually to recommend them to his peers. So how to get actually started with product-led growth? And that's actually the main point of our presentation, that we wanted to share a bit our experience. Because in the end, what you are doing is something very different. You're not anymore primarily building your product for the buyer persona, for the person who buys your product, but really need to make sure that you delight your end user. And that's really the key foundational principle of product-led. You need to delight your users. You need to deliver value before you actually capture value, before you actually make your customer pay. And we are going to talk about 3 foundational steps that you need as a foundation to actually move into this product-led motion. And the first very important one is collect and analyze user data. Because what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. You might know this saying. And I think it's really about, if you think about data, you should really think about this build, measure, learn cycle. So for those of you who don't know it, that's a very big thing in software development, where actually you want to learn as fast as possible. So the challenge is not build your product as fast as possible, because the problem is always that you learn what works and what doesn't work once you have built it and shipped it to a customer. So you want to minimize the time you need to actually build your next product iteration. You want to minimize the scope and learn as fast as possible, because the person who learns as fast as possible is the one who ultimately succeeds. And for that, you need to be able to measure. So it doesn't help you that you can ship fast if you can actually not learn. And for that, if you may have more than a few customers, or if you do not want to speak with the buying persona, but the actual user, which is much more difficult to get hold on, you need to measure how the product is being used. So how data does help you to grow faster? It's by uncovering user needs and user pain points, by analyzing their behavior, by analyzing the data. But it's also by measuring whatever you shipped. Is it actually being adopted? Is it being used? Is it adding value to the user? And last but not least, it's also, that's probably what you're very familiar of, it's keep tracking your progress, defining your goals, your OKRs, and making sure that you're actually achieving them. And this is just, we want to give some practical examples, some examples on data that we use as a product management team to inform our decisions. So starting with qualitative data, we do a lot of user interviews, which we also document and share, so that not just the one who interviewed it, but also others can actually learn from our customer use cases. So a lot of our product managers might have never spoken to you, but know a bit about your use cases, because we also internally share a lot of those use cases and stories. But then we also have a lot of data, like our revenue data, our device statistics, so how many devices are connected to the different tenants, in product surveys, or component monitoring. So it's more the R&D perspective, like, is our solution performant? How many latency do we have to answer a request? Because it's also important for fulfilling our user expectation that we use to actually, in order to make product decisions. And on the in-product surveys, Nadia is going to share a few examples now.
Okay, let's see some examples. So this is an example of our in-product feedback form, where we just easily collect feedback from our, in this case, free trial users that can easily write the feedback and submit it. And that's another example. I don't know if you see it, but that's an in-product survey that helps us understand how our users are perceiving the product. Is it easy to use or not? And this one is an example of our Net Promoter Score survey. It's just an additional tool that we use to better understand how our users are perceiving the product. Here you see a dashboard of product analytics. So this is an example of a feature adoption report that we use to better understand which are the top features that our users are using, and then focus on improving and optimizing them, or which are the features that the users are not using, so that we make sure that they are more visible, or if we need to deprecate them, we have data to prove our decisions. And here there is another interesting report that we did for our free trial users. The first aha moment for our free trial users is to connect their first device. And the first device is very often the smartphone, because this is the device that everyone has in the pocket. So we did this funnel report, and we wanted to understand in this 4-step connect your device process where users are dropping off. So we could see that at each step of the connect your smartphone process, we have drop-off rates, and we could see that we don't have a lot of drop-off rates at the 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th step of this whole process, but we decided that we need to optimize this first step where we guided more users to start connecting their smartphones. So this report helped us understand where we need to optimize the user experience and improve our product. So that's the last step of this whole process. So that was just an example. If you're interested to learn more about the data that we're collecting, reach out to me or Nico. I would be happy to share. And I think
you're continuing.
Okay, I'll continue. So, yeah, collecting data is also helping us better understand our personas and users that are using the product. And here you see a snapshot of the different personas that are involved in the buying decision-making. And we focus on 2 of those personas, the solutions lead and the developer, because we know that these are the key personas that are using Cumulocity, and we wanted to optimize the product, especially for them. So this is an example of how we optimize the user experience for the developer persona. We make sure that we have very clear documentation on API, but also we provide developers with a community where they can ask questions and they can learn from other developers. So we have this tech community. So we need to make sure that at each step of the user journey, we help users and we give them the tools to help themselves be successful with the product without the need of personal assistance. That is another example of how we help users help themselves. This is a simple pop-up offering first-time users to start exploring Cumulocity with in-app guides or tutorials, or just simply starting by connecting their smartphone. And here you see that we use in-product onboarding guides and how-to videos for different user groups. In this example, you see that we have a different knowledge hub with useful resources for users, for trial users, but also we have a different knowledge hub for customer users. So we are personalizing the onboarding experience based on the persona and the jobs to be done. And now I'm giving this to you, Nico, to share the last
maybe one other small remark. What I also really like about this, you see the search in the documentation here. So while this is actually an engagement helping you to easier use the product, we're at the same time learning. Because whatever they search in the documentation, we get these search terms and we know what customers or users are struggling with. So I think that's another very nice one, because we really see the top terms and can make then sure that we have content ready to actually guide them around what most users are struggling with. And then we have now talked about you need data actually to get started and actually optimize your product for the user, not the one who's buying your machine. And we actually started to focus and improve the user experience, but there's one big piece missing. So obviously transitioning into a product-led model is not easy at all, because you're basically also changing a bit how you build your product and how you operate as a business. And that's the last thing I wanted to speak about, the product-led mindset. And here the first very big difference is that the teams own product outcomes and not features anymore. So in many companies, the product development teams, they are asked to build specific features, which customers have asked for, which the sales team believes are very important, and deliver those features. In product-led companies, that is not the way those companies operate, because that often does not really work well, because later you learn that for the one reason or the other, this feature which was missing did actually not make the difference you have hoped for. So in product-led teams, it's really important that the team's own outcomes, so goals they want to achieve. Like, I want to increase the retention rate of our customers. I want to make sure that 30% of my users actually who signed up for a trial actually do the second step and learn about the product. I think those are outcomes where you really have a clear goal. I want more engagement of my trial users, or I want to actually have more upsell from a trial user to a paying customer, that the product team can look at and own and like really use the data to see how can I actually change that. And there comes directly the second challenge is, if you are responsible for business outcomes as a product team, then you don't just need engineers. You basically need to work with your whole organization, and that's what you see a bit in this picture, that suddenly you need to work with your marketing team, you need to work with a sales team, with a pre-sales team, with the customer success team, because those are the people who have the knowledge that you need in order to learn how to achieve the business outcomes. You need to focus on different topics. You just not need to build the next feature. You need to enable customers. You need to create content to make it easier for them. You need to interview them to really understand the problems. And that is really a change that needs to happen to really transition to this more product-led thinking. And then last but not least, I think that's a very important one. Most companies succeed when they really have executive sponsorship for this product-led model. Because in the end, what you need to make sure is that you expect product teams to drive outcomes, not build features, so that they are empowered to take their own decisions, but also that the rest of the organization, the marketing team, the sales team, is properly incentivized to actually contribute direct to the products, and that they actually benefit from this product-led model as well. And this was our presentation. I'm handing over back to Nadia to summarize the key takeaways for you.
Okay, quick summary, because the Guinness is waiting for us. So, first, start with data collection. Make sure that you have qualitative, quantitative data, and then design the product for the end user. Learn more about the personas that you have and focus on the key personas that you want to target. And then, last but not least, get organizational buy-in. And that's the recipe for success, or almost. But that's a starting point. And I hope that we inspired some, and we gave you some food for thought on this topic. So, last question for you. Do you know what time is it?
I learned from Jane. It's networking time.
It's almost Guinness time. So, thank you.
Any question in the room? Hendrik.
Yes, that's a question that we're hearing a lot from customers, and I can say that with 10.18, we now can enable tracking, user tracking for dedicated customers, not only for public cloud customers. So if you're interested, just contact me, and we can. We're still discovering the process and how we can share this type of data with customers. But I would be happy to discuss this with you and give you more details.
Thank you. Hi. My question is about I guess, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? How do you gather the data and understand the pain points and what the user needs if you don't yet have the product? And, you know, I guess, how do you, obviously once you have the product, you can start that, but that's what I'm trying to understand.
That's a great question. I would say you can try with mockups and have some usability sessions and start from here and just ask questions and start collecting data from interviews and usability sessions. And I would say that that's a starting point if you have an MVP and start testing with real users and collecting feedback from them. Nico, if you
Yeah, so
have
I mean,
to add.
there are a lot of data sources, and there are, as I said, qualitative and quantitative data sources. So you can look at the market. There will be analysts analyzing the market. You can, as Nadia said, I mean, in the end, you need to build, measure, learn. So if you have nothing built, there's no product that you can validate. You can learn if there's an interest for this market. Is the market existing? Are there alternative solutions? So with this competitor analysis. But then I also think the recipe is actually validating your idea as cheap as possible. So that is if you build a product, the idea is like really build a mock-up or maybe draw a sketch and show it to one of your potential target customers, and that's then the data you gather. And then the more mature you get, I think the important thing is that you really consider like what are actually my key success metrics and how do I collect them in an automated fashion. But this, of course, if you don't have a product yet, that's nothing you need to worry about at that point.